Well, thank you so much for having us today. This is an amazing panel. We've got a very broad topic we're going over right now: esports, gaming culture, lifestyle content, driving engagement and commerce. So we're kind of covering everything. We could not ask for a better group in order to do it, though. Let's go around the horn to start so that everybody can get a brief introduction to who we're talking to. Let's start with you over there, Steve.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Steve Marzocca here. I lead the influencer relations team in the Americas for the Twitch ad sales organization. I've been at Twitch for about 6 years now, so basically a dinosaur in gaming terms, but previously came from ad agency world, working on clients like Alienware and Anheuser-Busch. Essentially just lead all discussions involving Twitch talent in relation to branded content on our platform that is produced specifically by our in-house brand partnership studio. So working with a ton of brands, especially in 2020, there was quite a boom, and have been creating some really awesome stuff with some great creators. So thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Steve. Travis, let's jump over to you.
I'm Travis Mynard. I'm an esports agent over at UTA. I specialize in pro players. I've been in the esports industry for close to 8 years now, which definitely makes me a dinosaur. Majority of my time has been over at Riot Games. I made the switch about 1.5 years ago.
Great, thank you so much. And Jaci, let's go to you next.
Hi, yep, I'm Jaci Hayes, COO at Faze Clan. I've been here a little over 1 year now. Prior to this, I was at GoPro Media. And prior to that, I started in gaming in 1996. It's wildly more popular now. Faze Clan is what kind of got me back in it. I thought I'd leave it, but I got sucked right back in. It's too fun. So that's where I'm now.
Wonderful. Adrian, how about you?
Hi, I'm Adrian. I'm the CEO of Enthusiast Gaming. We're all about building fan communities around gaming and esports. So we have websites, YouTube channels. We own Luminosity Gaming, which is a big esports organization. We own and operate about 30 events around the world. And look, we're one of only 2 gaming platforms to be on the list of the 100 largest internet properties in America, alongside our friends at Twitch. So we take that honor seriously, as they do too, and it's great to be here today.
Wonderful, thank you. And Jonathan, we'll get you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm Jonathan Flesher. I lead our business development efforts at Discord. I've been at Discord for about 2 years, and prior was at a couple different startups, including Skills and Zynga, which grew from just a tiny thing to something quite large, as well as spent time at Electronic Arts. Longtime gamer since the days of MUDs on mainframe, as you can tell by my gray hair in my beard. So what do I do on kind of a day-to-day basis is I partner with brands, broadly speaking, whether they're publishers, developers, or other partners, like platforms, everyone from Sony, Microsoft, Apple, and Google. Discord, as you probably are aware of, started out in gaming around voice and providing voice support during gaming, but has really blossomed into a platform for community that we call our Finding Your Digital Third Place.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those introductions for everyone. So we got a little feeling for where everybody fits inside of here. We've got platforms, we've got publishers, we've got an agent on the panel here. And we all know that in 2020, gaming content absolutely exploded, especially with COVID and shelter in place. A lot of people at home. Gaming was what a lot of people turned to socialize, for fun, as a way to connect with people outside of those. Outside of their home. So are there any particular strategies that you see that are working really well or aren't working really well in this arena right now? We can have anyone who wants to jump in.
I'll take the first one. Why not? I like to say, especially in 2020, we had a lot of brands kind of enter the space that definitely didn't play in gaming prior. The thing that comes to mind for me is you need to try hard, but don't be a try hard, I think is kind of how I put it together. What that means is, like, you need to be thoughtful in your approach to gaming. You need to familiarize yourself with the platform and understand the community, but you don't need to be over the top about it. You don't need to make a huge splash or do something huge off the bat when you enter the space. I think it's just kind of understanding what the environment that it is that you're kind of entering, start with a small investment, and then build on the learnings that you get from that investment. An example of someone that I did work with that we saw just do extremely well is Procter & Gamble. We've worked with them for months, kind of developing their gaming strategy and live streaming strategy on Twitch. And it kind of came to fruition basically at the peak of the pandemic with Charmin. Toilet paper is not something that's really endemic to gaming, but was a pretty hot issue actually at the beginning of the pandemic. If you remember, it was worth its weight in gold. And it kind of really, what we did was really just amazing. We did basically an homage to Duck Hunt, the classic NES game, and created an extension on Twitch, which is essentially like an interactive overlay that lives on top of streamers' channels, and made a mini game that kind of mimicked Duck Hunt in a sense. So you basically launched toilet paper at flying poop emojis, which sounds very crude and ridiculous, but it was super lighthearted and fun. And we partnered with some of the top channels on Twitch, and basically over the course of a week, whoever came in first place from the viewer's perspective won a prize, which was Twitch Bits, which is basically like a virtual good that they can use on Twitch. And it just exceeded all expectations and was truly just a really great example of, you know, taking the time to understand the platform before diving in head first, and using what you've learned in the past to really build on it. And that was just one of the most fun campaigns I've worked on in my time here.
That's great.
That campaign was brilliant. We noticed it over at Faze as well. And I think, you know, we hired someone at Faze to head up events, and then 2 weeks later, COVID hit. And our entire strategy got thrown out the window. And we literally within a week, you know, flipped to a streaming model on Twitch very quickly, and started hosting all these streams and tournaments. And it became, you know, for the brands to be nimble and go with us and trust the content creators, because we trust the content creators. Because by the way, if we don't, we hear about it. But for the brands to trust that we know what we're doing with this fan base. We're in Discord all the time, listening to them real at time, and Twitch and YouTube and TikTok. So the ability for brands to move like that and really listen to what the fans want was incredible to see last year. You oftentimes say that, but brands never do it in principle. They just want their brand and content piece, and that's what they want. But if they listen, it's actually quite incredible. And I mean, these tournaments will bring celebrities on, but they're really coming for the gamers, the streamers. I mean, that's who moves the audience. It's the Nick Marks and Mongrels, and, you know, so yeah, just to copy on what Steve said. I agree.
I'd say the comment that I like to use is we've, in the gaming industry, have been fortunate beneficiaries of a very unfortunate situation. The rising tide has lifted all boats, but there's been some interesting standouts beyond what the panelists have already mentioned. Things like Among Us just skyrocketed. So the types of content that allow people to connect at home, certainly multiplayer games that they're already out there, like COD, Warzone, or Fortnite, but also new entrants like Among Us just blew up. And that was super fascinating to watch and participate in.
Yeah, I would say, you know, as far as strategy is concerned, what works and what doesn't work is pretty much, you know, unique to what brands want to get into the industry, right? So some people look at the numbers and they only solely look at the numbers and like, I'm going to go for the biggest catch and, you know, spend the most money on this. But in reality, it might not be a good fit for the brand itself, right? So, you know, I think the people who have really been thoughtful about who they're partnering with, the streamers that they want to, you know, I don't want to say push their brands, but have their brands associated with, those are the ones that we see have a lot of traction. I know like Amazon recently has gone just across the board, right? I haven't really seen them kind of just like nail a top tier streamer. They've been all over the place, kind of putting their money in the right spots where people feel like they're just really associating with those creators in a smaller, tight-knit community. Like they're way more trusted when it comes to brands.
And Adrian, is there anything in particular you've seen in the past year on the content side that's been really explosive?
Well, I mean, obviously, have to be a little self-serving. We did some pretty cool stuff, which I think was not what we did, but the fact that we were involved quite significantly with a lot of initiatives on the Biden-Harris campaign, and the way in which a presidential campaign embraced video games and recognized that gamers and esports fans were critical, a demographic, was a watershed moment, I think. Certainly, 4 years ago, if you were a presidential campaign and you had extra money to spend a couple days before the election, you'd take out some airtime on NBC. This year, the Biden campaign took over a map in Fortnite. And what was interesting was they didn't say, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. It was very issue driven. It was make sure you get out and vote. Hope you make the right choice. So very authentic messaging, and something that I thought was pretty significant for our industry.
Yeah, I feel like we could do an entire panel just on politics and gaming culture, right? Like Trump had a Twitch channel, as did Bernie Sanders and AOC with Among Us. And there was just a lot of intersection. I think Kamala Harris did a thing also in Animal Crossing. It's hard to keep up with all of it, but there seemed like a different headline on The Verge every day of another like gaming culture politics crossover, which was fun to see. Speaking of which, there was a New York Times article a few weeks ago that ran that said, what does a gamer look like? And it profiled some of the top streamers. Does anyone want to take a crack at trying to explain gamer culture as it exists right now?
I'll take a stat. We get hit with this question a lot at Faze Clan. I think, in 2014, the Faze Clan guys turned the camera on themselves and they were unapologetically gamers, which was kind of the first time that happened, where you didn't have to explain, oh, we're not in the basement, all that stuff that used to happen. They didn't explain that. They were just cool. And fans related to them. And then they got cooler. And then suddenly Gucci's there. So it's like, and suddenly Lil Yachty wants to come play and Ben Simmons wants to play. So it happened organically. It wasn't a forced partnership with corporate suits. It was these gamers just turning the camera on themselves and being really proud of what they did. And the fan base took off like wildfire. It exploded because finally these kids have someone to identify with who's not apologizing. They're doing trick shots. They're on Call of Duty. They're just doing their thing. And it was cool to see. And from then to now, you just see how it's gotten so much bigger. And we don't, we do say entertainment because we truly are at that intersection of fashion, music, sports, gaming. It's right up there. There's no, and again, to like what Steve and I were talking about on Twitch, it's the gamers driving the views and not the reverse. It's, they want to come play and learn from the gamers, not the reverse. It's, these guys are connecting, whether it be on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, they're connecting with their fans in a way that's authentic. And it's the kids' social currency. And it's what this pandemic has driven even more so, is because it's a way for kids to connect with other kids around something that's not their math problems, because they're all stuck at home. I mean, any parent out there can relate to it. I certainly can. I didn't let my kids game for a while. I know I'm in gaming, but
good luck with that.
It all changed. And then, but you saw the good of gaming coming out. You really did. You saw our kids being able to connect on something that has kept them entertained and connecting with friends and having a social life while they're stuck at home. Some kids never even been able to leave. So, it's been really cool. Anyway, I'm maybe going a bit deeper there, but
I would say one thing that I often tell people is that, Jaci, I think you're exactly right, is that the term gamer, what's a gamer profile, it's too broad. Like, you got to think, like, people go in and they go, oh, I have this preconception of it's the hardcore esports guy, or it's the influencer, or it's the casual player. It's all of the above. And so to talk authentically, I hate that term that we throw around in the industry, is you have to be authentic, but you do. You have to actually speak to the verticals within there, because they are distinctly different within kind of gamer culture. And the other thing that I talk about with brands like P&G, which I think tends to be very forward thinking around this, is when I look at my own 12-year-old son, I've got 3 kids. He's my oldest. He's a Valorant player. When I tell a brand about like advertising my son does not even register like web ads, like interstitials, anything. Like it just goes in like his eyeballs and falls out on the floor. What he cares about is what I call his friends. That's broadly speaking. His small social group of buddies, like what game are they playing? What are they wearing? What are they doing? That drives a lot. But then it's the influencers that he follows, that he cares about, his broader group of friends. And everything else is so small in terms of the impact on what he wants to do, what he wants to buy, what he wants to play. That's really the way to end up reaching kind of the gamer youth, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can only second what everybody else has said. Pretty much, it's such a broad environment of what a gamer means, right? So from the people who are creating the games, the publishers, to the people who are promoting the games, we have everything. We have weebs, we have jocks, we have nerds, we have people who are socially awkward.
Exactly.
We have people doing like stunt tricks. We have everything you can possibly imagine. And I think pretty much every creator or every company has their own community. And I think that's what makes this ecosystem so cool, that we have so much room to play in, and there's so much room for people to be a part of it. I think if you find your niche and you stick with it, like people are going to come. Like you're going to get those really deep, enthralled fans.
Yeah, no, all wonderful points. Wonderful points. And yeah, so there's a lot of places where, I mean, since gamers are so diverse, and like I consider myself a gamer, no one would confuse me with like Faze Banks or anything, right? So because we all kind of congregate in our own places, naturally a lot of esports, game streaming, kind of lifestyle gamer culture lives on Twitch, naturally, because Justin TV becoming Twitch was kind of like out there, right? Discord has become very dominant. Are there other places where these kind of groups are starting to form? Like maybe specifically when it comes to esports. I know that I've been to a couple live events lately that is off platform. Naturally, not as much with COVID going on, but pretty exceptional community building happening there.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in as it relates to what Discord does with esports on that, sure, because I think that can provide some context around community in esports. Originally, we've been working kind of with the pro scene a lot, with teams and competitions, finding community and supporting those teams. Sometimes individual players are hosting their own communities, and really helping them with fan engagement and driving viewership. The part that we've really started to push in is kind of a broader sense of community around the amateur scene. So partnering with different tournament platforms like ESL and Challenge to create what we're calling tournament servers, where it's something that in kind of call it the next few months to quarters, we're going to be launching in our discovery, the ability to find tournament servers. And then on those servers, you'll find bots that can help you kind of take some of that friction out of what is a very fragmented process of getting involved with the amateur competition scene. And that really at its heart is what Discord's about, is like removing friction from, connecting with your community, oftentimes around gaming. And that's super interesting to me when that stuff's going to launch, is really helping drive those new forms of community around competitive gaming.
Yeah, look, for us at Enthusiast, that's our whole business, is fan communities. So we own lots of fan communities, and it's such a vibrant place for people to hang out, to make friends, to share feelings, to forge relationships. As an example, we own one of the largest Sims communities, the Sims Resource, and that game has been around for 25 years, and we probably get 300 million page views a month. We have 130,000 subscribers on that site alone, and it's very community driven, this whole experience. And that's certainly, everyone on this panel dealing externally has to suffer through sometimes what I call age discrimination, where middle-aged marketers just throw up their hands and say, why would anyone watch someone else play a video game. But the statistic that drives us in our business, for all the incredible stats about this industry, there's 2.5 billion Gen Zs in the world, and 70% say that gaming is a core part of their identity. So this is not a hobby. This is, as my panelists have said, this is their method of self-expression, how they represent to the outside world, and it's their social network. So community is probably the most important, one of the most important words that we can talk about here.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And that kind of leads into another question. I know that a lot of people who attend they might not be heads down in gaming like everyone on this panel right away. So I would love to just do a brief discussion on how do creators, streamers, esports teams, how do they make money? And if somebody can briefly go over the streaming wars and what's been happening on that side, I'm sure Steve has a lot to say about it. My time at Facebook Gaming, I have a lot to say about it, but I'll give everyone the space to discuss.
Yeah, I'll start for sure. For monetization efforts for creators on Twitch is what we do at our core. We are a creator first platform and strive to give our creators the tools they need to make a living with their content. Anything we do with that in mind, them and the community. So on Twitch, I operate in the branded content space, but that's really like a supplemental piece of revenue for content creators on Twitch. We have a subscription model where you essentially can subscribe to a channel for a monthly fee that essentially unlocks soft benefits like customized emotes or emojis for channels specifically that, again, ties back to the community and the identity of that community. We have a rev share model from an ad revenue perspective. So any advertisements that roll on your channel, you receive revenue from, similar to other platforms. And then we also have a product that I mentioned with the Deuce Destroyer Charmin example called Twitch Bits, which is essentially it's a virtual good. It's worth 1 cent, and you can essentially choose to celebrate a moment on Twitch by, unleashing some bits or cheering some bits on the platform that kind of pop up in an animated way in the on the stream and within the chat to kind of celebrate, an epic moment, whether it be a crazy play or a celebratory moment, a milestone of the streamer's career or something like that. So. It is very much something that we focus on from a monetization effort. Like, we want to give our creators as much opportunity to make this a living, and it's our goal to have as many creators become full-time. And I think kind of going back to what we've been talking about, youth culture and gaming, like the number one career that the younger generation wants to get into is content creation. So that is a truly powerful statement that I think 5 years ago we would be baffled to hear, but here we are, and it's kind of up to us to help create the ecosystem that will help these aspirational creators thrive.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about a Faze clan, more of an esports org and a media company, the way we look at it is a diversified approach. Obviously, it's how if we're too dependent on sponsor, we'll lose. If we're too dependent on AdSense, we'll lose. If we're only dependent on consumer products, we'll lose. So we have to have a diversified approach to it. Where we sit, it's talent and content and creative lead with us, and from that, we have esports with winnings and trading, and we have content with AdSense, and we have sponsor, and we have consumer products. And consumer products in and of itself is a big one, with player lines, collabs, which are not only revenue sources, but also massive market builders for us. When you look at a Chinatown Market collab with Faze Clan or Gucci, that's more of a marketing effort even than it is revenue, but it is revenue on the backside. And then player lines, individual player lines that we work with our talent on launching, but using the Faze IP to really help it go big and catch fire. I think that's, we really look at all of these streams. It's harder. I wish we only had one, but we need all these different revenue streams to really grow and do the best possible work we can for our talent. And at the end of the day, the Faze brand as well. It's what keeps pushing us forward. So that's kind of how we look at that.
And Faze merch is just insanely cool, even if you have no clue what Faze Clan is. So those ads are just like they sing on the page.
Because we let our talent run it. Like I stay out of the way when it comes to all that design. They're all they know what works, and it sells out like 60 seconds. You couldn't get a Faze bear brick. I mean,
I've tried. I tried to get the bear brick.
They don't have one. I'm like, I couldn't get one.
Yep, secondary markets. Time to introduce them.
Yeah, Faze has definitely crushed it on that, along with 100 Thieves. You guys are at the top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adrian and Travis, in terms of core esports, I know that it changes a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about how kind of the esports teams make money in this market?
I mean, I can tell you from our side, it's basically, you know, I don't work for an org, obviously, but I negotiate with orgs, and I understand some of the things that are very important for them. Organizations, I think, are just like any other business. You have an asset, right? You have an inventory, and those assets in inventory are what you sell against. And it could be, you know, across the board, whether it's merch or talent or pro players. But ultimately, it's exactly what Jason said. It's like you have to have all of them working together in order to have, you know, the players that are your esports that have the most eyes on it, right? All at once, 150, 160,000 people watching just on Twitch alone, among other platforms that are out there. They're just kind of, you know, such a big, broad exposure to what they're getting into. They have to be bought into what your company stands for, what your organization stands for. And the reason why they do is because, you know, any interview they go to that has that same amount of people in it, you want them to sing your praises, right? You want them to wear your merch. You want them to have good relations with your partners, because ultimately what they're doing is, you know, it goes back to what Jonathan said before, you know, authentic, organic, you know, those buzzwords that we always use. If your own talent isn't bought into your company, isn't bought into your brand, then ultimately you're going to have a wobble there somewhere in that fixture of like major categories where you have to be solid in.
Yeah. And Travis, you know, Nick Marks and Swag, two of our biggest, our biggest streamers, are Faze Clan and repped by UTA, and they want to be in Faze. Faze wants them. It's you know, I kind of just let them. They work. It's hard to. It's a collective of creators, but they're joining a really cool team with the cool IP, and but they're also, you know, Nick Marks is huge. You know, he's massive. But it has to play well. He has to want to wear the sweatshirt. He's not going to do it because Travis or I say wear it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's good. And Adrian, for something like Luminosity, what are the monetization streams now? What are you excited about seeing in the future?
Well, I think you know, growing content that you can monetize. Look, we're not the smartest guys in the world. We don't pick up everything quick. We bought this company with all these YouTube channels, and then we realized that, wait a sec, Luminosity has a YouTube channel. We could perhaps monetize that. We could do more with our, you know, we have the biggest gamer on Twitch, XQC. We have, you know, Fresh, who's one of the biggest big YouTube guys like Muselk. And so getting them more invested in those sorts of initiatives is good. I think, you know, also we co-own a Call of Duty franchise in Seattle and an Overwatch team. And look, candidly, the economics of esports, competitive esports, all by themselves are still a little challenging, because the lifeblood, it's great to compare an esports org to the NBA or to the MLS or what have you, but the lifeblood of a traditional sports team is traditional television broadcast revenue. And those revenue streams and those massive checks, they don't exist yet in esports. And so when you're trying to monetize through merch and trying to monetize through prize winnings, of which you get a sliver and the player gets the most, you know, those economics for competitive esports are still challenging.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. We actually got a question from the audience that I would want to jump in here. Tom Nazarian asked, especially in this time where I mean, not to get too far away from gaming, but e-commerce had a heck of a year last year. So what has the growth been like for influencer merch, streamer merch, creator merch? Has it been explosive? Is there putting the genie back in the bottle? Has this created a new normal?
It's been explosive for us. It's you know, it's still, the price point is still within reach. Depending, you know, I'm not going to drop $80 on a sweatshirt for my 12-year-old, but a lot of college students are going to do that. And it's, you know, in a world where it's all online and they're on streams, they're on Twitch, they're on YouTube, they're on TikTok, and we've figured out ways to, per platform, you know, their favorite influencer, we're just serving them up the merch that's right there. It's kind of brilliant. It's amazing, actually. I mean, yeah, that side of the world is taking off in a big way. And collabs are huge, but collabs will come and go. There's only so many you can do, right? Before it's like, well, who's next? It's really, you know, the influencer and the brand they're with, the player lines, I think we haven't even seen it yet. I haven't seen that explode. I think we will see it explode. And this year and 22, it'll be at a whole nother level. We're not even built up to support in the way that I think we need to be, you know,
right,
in 2022.
Yeah, no, that's really
maybe
exciting.
That's too lofty of thinking, but I think there's, you know,
not at all. And there's always room for more collabs. If you've seen what Crocs is doing with KFC, and like the juxtapositions that you see in this world are fascinating. You can work with any brand.
Lady Gaga and Oreo, I think I just saw.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Oreo, in fact, yeah. Faze Oreo, that's an idea.
I love it.
I think you make a really interesting point, because the limited edition, the collabs, the short runs that sell out and get all the news, by their very nature are limited in size and scale, so are not going to necessarily drive the big top line revenue numbers that you're going to need to drive the, you know, kind of a long-term business. And I think this lines up with, Adrian, as you said, kind of the broadcast rights going to that scale, having, you know, kind of merch, general purpose merch, in the way that like NFL teams and, you know, MLB and NHL and all the others kind of make money off of. That has yet to come. And that will drive, I think, a lot of revenues for the teams.
Right. Yeah, so we're in the back half, but I definitely don't want to leave without asking about some predictions. Let's do some wild predictions here that people can write about. We've seen kind of a rise in news about AR-powered devices. Esports events are getting more explosive. The prize pools are getting huge. Once everything opens up again, we all know that it's selling out gigantic arenas. 5 years, 10 years from now, what are we going to see? Am I going to be able to crack a beer with my 65-year-old dad and watch esports?
If you want to talk to if he wants to talk to you, he's going to have to.
That's true.
So it's just that simple for poor old dad. Yeah, look, I think what gets me excited, particularly as someone in his 40s, is all the, you know, these transformational moments when Drake streamed with Ninja and all these things that push esports into the mainstream. Here's a bold prediction. I think Nick Merckx or Laserbeam or XQC is going to host Saturday Night Live within 3 years, or do something mainstreamy, because Lauren Michaels is going to wake up and go, how come every kid in the world knows who these guys are, and why aren't they hosting my show? And a bunch of middle-aged people are going to go, wait a sec, and it's just going to be one of those aha moments that helps all of us.
No, excellent point.
Phil, I would say, you know, there's several, you know, different countries that are looking at, you know, building that or bridging that gap between, you know, older generation and newer generation. In Brazil, you can see some of the traditional football clubs get into esports, and you can kind of see that, you know, their dads will root with their kids in order to, you know, root for whoever's in a Flamengo jersey. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think outside of that, you know, if I had to make a bold prediction for things that are going to happen within the next like 5-10 years, I think we're going to see these bigger, larger events that normally take place in giant arenas find a way to be more engaged across platform. I think one of the things that, you know, people have had trouble doing is engaging the audience at home. while the major events take place in person. The energy in the building feels amazing, but the energy at home kind of falls flat. I think there's going to be some major advancements in those areas to really kind of make the people watching at home feel like they're in the arena.
I love it.
Yeah, I think the Hollywood approach to what you're saying, Travis, I think when the world opens back up, I know we're certainly preparing for what big events we're going to do. You know, Comic-Cons, those things were so huge. I think when you cement them around the influencers themselves, because they are the big attraction, and really if someone can put on big, powerful events around the fans, just around the fans, and then make that, you know, 360 coverage play while you're at home or whether you're in person. I do think the world's going to want to go meet up again, but not in a general way, in a niche way where it's fan driven. It's all fan driven because they're going to want to go see each other. I mean, that world is huge, and they've been isolated now for, it'll be probably 2 full years. And so when it opens up, we all got to be there and make sure the coverage of it is just as, you know, extraordinary as we believe it's going to be. I mean, listen, no one was going to predict we were going to storm, not we, some crazies were going to storm the White House. So there's crazy stuff going on. I think we got to arm, you know, the internet kids with the right values, the right social diversity messages. I mean, there's a lot writing on this to make sure we end up in the right spot. I went a little bit broad there, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah, Jaci, you make a good point. Like, it makes me think about, obviously, TwitchCon is the celebration of fans, right? That is the marquee event right now where, you know, gaming communities get together. It is fan driven. It is where the influencers are. And, you know, we obviously had to cancel TwitchCon 2020 and heartbreaking. We did our best to put together an online, GlitchCon, and it was very successful, but I can't even estimate what the next TwitchCon is going to look like in person, because to your point, we've spent so much time online. The amount of gaming I've done with my friends, I've played with high school friends that I haven't talked to in 5 years because we're all stuck at home and we need, you know, that social connection. Like, it's just like, you know, shaking up a soda bottle, and it's going to explode at some point. And when we all get to finally get together, I think, you know, the influx of turnout is going to be something that we have never seen before.
Yeah.
TwitchCon will break the internet or something.
I'm excited for that.
Certainly shut down a city.
All right, bold prediction, Jonathan. We haven't heard yours yet.
North America is going to win the world. No,
hey.
That is bold.
No, that leads me to a more serious comment is, you know, kind of looking at worlds and having it look like the Super Bowl. You know, the Super Bowl is accessible to an audience that doesn't really understand the game. People are there watching, they're hanging around an event. This year, not so much at home, but, you know, in most years, we gather around that. That to me is coming. Like, it's inevitable. It's not a question of if, it's when. When will the worlds be that type of an event that you'll gather around your house, hang out, and, you know, have a party around it? And the production values will take that quality of that broadcast that you see for the Super Bowl and the commentary and stuff like that, and make it accessible to the people who don't play. I mean, you know, it takes like 200 hours to get up to speed on League to be, you know, an okay player. So making that accessible, I think, is once we see that flip in that age demographic, like my son being in his 30s, I definitely think we'll get there.
Yeah, and I'm pegging my bold prediction. I say it in every single panel. There will be a mixed reality sport on primetime network TV in the finals by 2030. I'm calling it now. When you see it, you could say, that's right, Phil said that 10 years ago. Yeah. So we got a couple of questions coming in and a few minutes left. So really quickly, what are you, Thomas Lee asks, what are you most excited about in 2021 with virtual production and league games like the NFL, NBA, and MLB? Would you be on board? I think the idea is if they were gamified those things.
Yeah, I think it's only natural, like that they're going to have to wind up doing those things, you know. And I think that's what we're kind of talking about when you want to bridge the gap of the people at home as well. Like, you know, Steve hit on it with the campaign with Charmin, is the more you can get people to interact with their screens, the more you can get people to interact with the event that's going on, you know, right in front of them. Like I'm sure there will be a choose your own adventure movie coming up soon for whatever community wants to make it. You know what I'm saying? It's these leagues that have been around for such a long time are going to have to adapt, especially adapt to the new reality, which is, you know, not everybody's going to show up at a stadium anymore.
Yeah,
I think we're already seeing it, honestly. I think, you know, Amazon has Thursday Night Football, right? So Prime Video, and we've done work with the NFL where we've had, you know, Nick Merckx and Tim the Tatman and Ninja co-stream the Thursday Night Football game on Twitch, you know, and I think that is evidence of the leagues identifying that this is an area where they need to operate in to, you know, attract a younger fan base, because the NFL's fan base is aging out, and you know they're struggling. We saw an NFL wildcard game on Nickelodeon recently, so like I think, you know, the writing is on the wall that they are identifying that, you know, they need to reach a younger audience in different ways. So, you know, I think NBA is a really great example of kind of being on the cutting edge. Adam Silver is all in on doing things to reach a younger audience. And, you know, Twitch has made a partnership with the NBA to kind of host exclusive content. And it's really just tailoring your content efforts to a younger audience and reaching them in a place where they are. You know, they're not watching TV, they're not watching ESPN, they're not tuning into the games. But, you know, if you tune into Twitch and you see, you know, Nick Merckx watching football and seeing him and his forehead scream at the TV or at the, you know, at the monitor while he's watching a game, like, I want to watch that. It's awesome. It combines two of my favorite things, you know? So I think, you know, that is the future, and we're seeing it kind of unfold as we speak.
And Steve, you've got fan-controlled football coming to Twitch. Johnny Manziel's going to be a Twitch streamer pretty soon.
It's going to be...
I love what Twitch has been doing, and you know, I think similarly we had the Sacramento Kings open a server on Discord, the digital arena, and that actually came out of the esports side of their organization, who were quite familiar with Discord, but brought it to you know, kind of the Kings management team, and they said, well, in times of COVID where we may not have any audience, or we'll only have a limited audience in the arena, how do we create and engage that community, particularly the younger fans, outside of the games, both during the broadcast and after the broadcast? Now I see a lot more collaborations with Twitch and YouTube and Discord around that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah. The time has absolutely flown. We are officially out of time. I encourage everyone in the audience to please find everyone here on LinkedIn, on Discord, on Twitter. If you have any follow-up questions, there's a few Q&As we didn't get to. But thank you so much, Digital Media Wire, for having us. This duo has been awesome. And make sure to follow everybody on the panel that you find.
Hey, yeah, this is Laura stepping in for Ned from Digital Media Wire. Thank you guys so much. This was an awesome panel. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific. Tomorrow is the Rights Tech track. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
All right, GG's.